Welcome back to the Mighty Blues. It is the player ratings. Brighton 1, Everton 1 today at the Amex. Very disappointing result in the end. I'm sure a lot of Evertonians would have taken a point before the game, but when you look at the game, and when you look at the fact that Everton were 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go and Brighton were down to 10 men and we looked relatively comfortable and we looked relatively calm, to think that we've conceded in those last couple of minutes and only managed to come away with a point is really devastating. Look, the reality of the situation is Everton haven't won a Premier League game since December, and although we've had a lot of draws in there, although we've been unlucky at times, although we've had games where we probably should have got more from and we didn't, although today we were very good for large parts of the game in terms of the system and the style of Brighton had an awful lot of the ball and were the completely dominant side in that first half. But I feel like that was sort of the game plan, because that is the game plan quite often when Everton go away from home under Sean Dyche. It's to frustrate the opposition, stop them from creating any chances, be defensively strong, defensively resolute, and then go up the other end and, if you get a chance, take it. And that was very much what Everton did today, and we were a couple of minutes away from a vintage Sean Dyche performance and a vintage Sean Dyche result. But unfortunately, when you concede in the last couple of minutes, although we may be able to sit back in hindsight and say, well, you know what, there wasn't much we could do, it was unlucky, it was unfortunate, we deserve more, or certainly we were unlucky to not get more. When you think about the fact we haven't won a Premier League game since December and we're in a relegation battle, it's very frustrating. It's certainly 2 points dropped today, even though we may have took a point before the game. It doesn't matter. We should expect this Everton team to be able to see out a 1-0 lead, with an extra man and sort of 5-10 minutes to go. I agree, and 100%. I'm not quite sure where the officials got 9 minutes from for added time. I think that just screams Everton are winning and we don't want them to win. I know some people won't agree with that, and I'm not blaming the officials, by the way. Defensively, Everton should have done much better. The cross allowed to come in the first place is really poor. Beto should do better there, and then Lewis Dunk runs off. I think it's Amadou Onara and then jumps above, and behind. Is it Tarkowski or Brandt, one of the centre halves? And ultimately, you can't do much from that point. So yeah, I'm disappointed. I'll be honest, I'm disappointed. Had we have beaten Crystal Palace on Monday night and gone and put a strong performance in there, maybe we'd be sitting here today, a little bit happier and a little bit more secure. But, when you've not won a Premier League game in so long, no matter how you draw, or no matter how unlucky you are, or no matter how much you should have won the game, if you don't win the game, it just becomes another game that Everton haven't won, and that's exactly what it is today. But we have done the instant match reaction. If you want to go and check that out, it is up on the channel now. This is the player ratings, the show where we give every player a rating between 1 and 10, 1 being absolutely terrible and 10 obviously being fantastic. Let's jump straight into it then. Jordan Pickford. I'm going to give Jordan a 7 today. I don't think he had an awful lot to do, even though Brighton had an awful lot of the ball, certainly in that first sort of 35 minutes. I thought Everton settled down in the last 10 minutes of the first half, and then I thought it was a much more even game in the second half. But those first 30-35 minutes, that Brighton were definitely the more dominating side, and definitely the side that were pushing forward and trying to open the game up a little bit. And I don't think Jordan had too much to deal with, to be honest. From my memory, I can't remember him having too many huge saves to make. He had a couple of comfortable saves to make. They had a couple of chances from corners where they had free headers, but it was always headed straight into the path of Jordan Pickford, so it wasn't too difficult for him. He did have a huge save to make just after we'd gone 1-0 up. He got down to his right-hand side and tipped it past the post, but ultimately it stands for nothing, doesn't it? Had we have gone on and won the game, maybe we'd be talking a little bit more about that save. The goal itself, I'm not too sure he can do much about. I know some hypercritical fans will say, oh, he should have been quicker to it, he should have been positioned more over, but for me it's defensively really poor. To allow Lewis Dunk to run off you like that and jump up and head the ball unchallenged is really poor from me, and I don't put too much blame on Jordan for that. So he looked nervy. That's the only thing I would say. He looked nervy in those opening sort of 20 minutes. He had that moment, didn't he, where he come running out, completely rash running out. Unfortunately, Ben Godfrey had managed to do enough to put the attacker off. I think it was Welbeck, and the ball ended up going out for a goal kick. But I'm just not quite sure what he was thinking then. He often has these moments, doesn't he, where he makes decisions and you're sort of sitting there thinking what was going through your head when you made that decision, and then the camera always pans to him afterwards and he's always laughing or smiling as if to say, I'm not quite sure I knew what I was doing then as well, I just ran out and hoped. But, you know, nothing come from it, so I'm not going to be too hypercritical of it. So, yeah, you can have a 7. Ben Godfrey right back then. You know what? I thought Ben done well. I'll be honest, I thought Ben done well. I'm going to give Jordan a 6.5 on the basis that he didn't have much to do. I'm going to give Ben a 7. I thought Ben did well, to be honest. Again, he's, you know, unnatural position. You know, a centre-back playing right-back. Not only that, a centre-back with not a huge amount of game time in recent times, playing right-back. And again, I thought he was solid. Look, very, very, very basic. Very, very basic. And I remember the days where I'd sit down and I'd watch a right-back performance like that, and I'd come on in and I'd slate it and I'd say, it's not good enough, there's not enough there, there's this, that and the other. But that was because I was so used to having Seamus Coleman in his prime, getting up the pitch, throwing crosses in, having shots at goals, creating opportunities. You know, I'd have Leighton Baines on the other side who'd constantly be chipping in with goals and assists, etc, etc. The reality is, we just haven't got that now. For as good as Vitaly Mykolenko has been this season, and I think he's probably been Everton's best player, or certainly Everton's most improved player, and for as solid as Ben Godfrey's been for the last few weeks as well, they're just not the type of fullbacks that are going to get forward and give you anything, really, you know, at the other end of the pitch. Miko's capable of putting a couple of good crosses in a game, but it not often is it consistent enough. And because, obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is in a really, really poor period at the moment, it you know, not very often does it end in a goal. But I thought, for what it was, I thought Ben done well today. He obviously had to deal with you know, a very good young player that Brighton have got there on the left-hand side. And yes, he got the better of him a couple of times. Yes, there was a couple of times where Ben looked a little bit nervy, but there was also a couple of times where Ben got back and made some really, really important interceptions and some really important challenges. And yeah, I thought he done well today. I thought he done well, so he's getting a 7. Tarkowski in the middle, and I'm going to give him a 7.5 as well. No issues with James Tarkowski's performance whatsoever. Was he lucky to stay on the pitch? No, I don't think he was, because he only made one sort of challenge after that yellow card, and typically in football, unless you're Ashley Young in a Merseyside derby, players are often allowed to make one challenge on a yellow card, and then that next challenge is the one that you sent off for. And I thought James Tarkowski, considering he was booked with an hour to go in the game, I thought he done really, really well at keeping himself at bay. Yes, he had that one moment where it looked a little bit, you know, this could go either way, but from that point on, he didn't make a poor challenge, he didn't stick his foot in, he didn't leave his foot in, he sort of allowed the rest of the defenders to do that work. But I thought he was really solid again today, up and heading everything out, and you know, moving everything around well, and another really strong performance from him. Could he have done better for the goal? Look, I'd have to watch it again, because I'm not quite sure who's responsible. I think Onana allows him to run off him, which is the first mistake, but I'm not quite sure who Lewis Dunk rises above. But then again, you know, whoever the defender is that he rises above, he's in front of the play, and he's expecting Onana to follow his man, and he doesn't. So yeah, I'll give him a 7. Yeah, I'll give him a 7 today, Tarkowski. Branthwaite next to him then. I'm going to give Jared Branthwaite a 9. Really, really, really pisses me off that we're having to sit here and talk about a game of football that Everton have won, yet certain players have played so well in. Because it almost makes me feel bad or wrong for giving players an 8 or a 9, because it's like, well, we conceded with 5 minutes to go and it was terrible defending, and it was terrible defending, and it was terrible management of the game. It was really, really poor mismanagement. As I said in the instant match reaction, it felt like Everton were in complete control of that game, and the game could have been played for another hour, 2-3 hours, and Everton would have won it, until that board went up with 9 minutes and the Brighton crowd reacted to it, their players reacted to it, and then all of a sudden it looked like a big cloud had come over Everton, and we were absolutely terrified from that point onwards. And Yeah, that's not good. But Jared himself, I thought, was really, really solid today. Really solid again. Obviously, he's got the goal, which, you know, we all felt and thought at the time could be a winner. Really, really good goal. Ball in from Pickford that gets nodded down. Jared does brilliantly to touch it down, and then a proper striker's finish that. He's been watching Michael Keane in training, and it was a Michael Keane-esque finish. It tells you something when, you know, that's how we know Dominic Calvert-Lewin is in terrible, terrible form, and the other strikers aren't much better than him at the moment, because when we see a goal scored like that, we don't go to, oh, that was a Dominic Calvert-Lewin-esque finish, or that was a Beto-esque finish. We're talking about a centre-half who spent the majority of the season on the bench because he's not very good at centre-half, but what we do know is when he gets those opportunities in the box, Michael Keane, often he does well with them, and Jared did really, really well with his today. It was a brilliant touchdown. It was a great finish. I thought defensively he was really solid. He had that moment where he made the challenge at 1-0 that went out for a goal kick, and he sort of just looked to the side to him. Yeah, disappointing, because I want to be sitting here saying Jared Brantwaite 10 out of 10, unbelievable, what a player, boss, X, Y and Z, but I just haven't got the energy. Again, it just feels like Everton draw every game, every single game, and there's, you know, positives and negatives to Everton's results and performances at the moment. The biggest negative is we're not winning games. We haven't won a game since December. And that isn't good enough. If we want to stay in the Premier League this season, we have to start winning games. The positive is we're not necessarily losing a lot of games either. The games that we lose are often to teams like Manchester City, who, you know, you can't do much about. And as I said in the lead up to this game, we've only lost a couple of times this season away from home where we've been genuinely really, really poor. And today wasn't one of those examples, but as I said, we're not winning. But, you know, that doesn't take anything away from Jared. I thought he was really, really solid again today, and his goal was absolutely fantastic. Vitaly Mykolenko, left back, then I'm actually going to give Vitaly an 8 out of 10. I thought he was really, really, really solid today. Again, like I've just said, he's not Leighton Baines. He's not Luca Dean, and that is the type of left-back that Everton and Evertonians have been used to for so long. I grew up with Leighton Baines, you know, flying down that left-hand side, putting crosses in, creating opportunities, scoring goals, and then we had what seemed like seamless change from Leighton Baines over to Luca Dean. But Vitaly Mykolenko is different to that. He's not somebody that's going to be flying up and down the pitch, throwing crosses in, you know, constantly taking players on, and he's not technically as good as Leighton Baines was. But what he is massively, massively improved to what he was last season. And you've got to give him credit. You've got to give him credit for that, because his performances this season, for large parts of it, have been second to none. I can count on one hand how many poor performances Vitaly Mykolenko has put in this season. He's been absolutely fantastic. Defensively, he's been really solid. I thought he was really, really solid again defensively. And going forward, yes, you would like more from him. But, you know, again, I suppose his focus is on improving his defensive work before improving his attacking work. But yeah, I thought he was really, really solid again today. Really solid, and probably my man of the match, to be perfectly honest with you. Into the midfield then, Dwight McNeil. I'm going to give Dwight a 6.5. I thought he was much better today than what he was last week or on a Monday night, and I think he was much better today than what he has been in you know, the weeks that have gone by. Yes, the first 10-15 minutes he wasn't great. He struggled. He had moments where he probably should have done better with the ball. He probably should have been a little bit quicker too, but I think as the game went on, he grew into it a lot more, and sort of, obviously he wasn't anywhere near as good as he was last season at the Amex, but you could see that those signs where he was picking the ball up. He was, you know, quick feet, knocking it past a few players. Obviously, the cross for Abdoulaye Doucouré's chance is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful cross, and it deserved more. That ball, it really, really did deserve more. It was a great ball in, and it's unlucky from Abdoulaye Doucouré. But yeah, I don't think Dwight was absolutely brilliant today or unbelievable, but I think he was much, much better than what he has been in recent weeks, and I think that deserves some credit. James Garner in the middle then, I'm going to give him a 6.5 as well. I thought he was okay. For me, I don't really think he should have started the game. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I know James Garner's a fan favourite, and I like James Garner. I think he works hard. I think he puts himself about. I think he battles. I think he's, you know, he's a really, really good player to have around the squad and around the team. But the reality is A, Idrissa Gana Gueye has been absolutely fantastic recently and deserved to start today. B, Abdoulaye Doucouré is now back fit, and we know generally Everton don't win games of football without Abdoulaye Doucouré in. And C, for me, Amadou Onana just has to be in this team. And I get people who'll say, oh, but he doesn't work hard enough, or he doesn't give enough, or no player should be guaranteed the space. I agree, I get it completely, but we're talking about a player here who, for me, is our best midfielder technically. I know people will disagree with that. I know people won't like that because they don't like Onana and he missed the penalty against Fulham and this, that and the other. The reality is, technically, he is head and shoulders better than any of our other midfielders. He is, and he's probably head and shoulders better than any other Everton player as well. Maybe Jared Brandtwaite, who's obviously an exceptional talent, but I just don't think you can have Amadou Onana on the bench when he's fit. I think he has to be in this team. I think he has to be in this starting 11. You add that to the fact that if Everton are wanting to make some money this summer, which we all know is the case, I don't think any of us are under the illusion that this Everton squad that is now will be the same Everton squad next year. It won't. You know, we might even be a Premier League team by then, so there'll be huge wholesale changes if that's the case. If we are a Premier League team, which touch wood we are, there'll still be players that will have to be sold because we will get bids that are simply, too good to turn down. And if Everton are wanting to get as much money from Amadou Onana as possible, he can't be sitting on the bench for the team that's fighting relegation. He simply can't. And if there's this consensus, which there seems like there is this consensus that from us as fans, from the club and from the player himself, that Onana will eventually move on, probably this summer, if not, definitely the year after. He needs to be playing because we need to get as much money for him as possible. And I'd get it if James Garner was scoring hat-tricks every week or playing absolutely out of his skin every week. He isn't. He's a good player, James Garner. He does well, he's solid, he works hard, he battles, but he's not doing enough for me to keep Amadou Onana on the bench. He just isn't. Today, he was okay. He was okay again today. He put himself out. Put a couple of good crosses in, to be fair. Put a couple of good balls into the box that were unfortunate. But yeah, he was all right. Garner Gueye next to him then. I'm going to give him a 6.75. In fact, no, I'm going to give him a 7. I thought he was really good until he come off. I thought he was really, really good until he come off. I thought he was solid. Thought he was holding the ball up well. Thought he was winning the ball back well, moving it round when he needed to. I thought it was a really strong performance from him. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. Obviously he went down with an injury and had to come off with Onana, but hopefully that's nothing too serious. Hopefully that's just, a little knock that he'll get over in quick time. But yeah, I thought again, he broke the play up well, moved it round well, he was always there whenever Brighton had the ball in. And I thought Garner Gueye was absolutely pivotal in that opening half an hour. Don't get me wrong, I think Sean Dyche's style and system worked really, really well today and was absolutely spot on. And I thought the second half was very, very even. And I thought in the last 10 minutes of the first half, Everton got a lot more comfortable. But in that opening half an hour, Brighton were absolutely flying at us and we weren't really coming back with anything whatsoever. We struggled to keep a hold of the ball for more than 5 seconds. When we had it, we give it away, making silly decisions. We really struggled, and Garner Gueye was absolutely pivotal in that moment to breaking the play up and frustrating them. And the more and more he did that, the more and more they got frustrated, and that allowed Everton back into the game. So yeah, I think he deserves a lot of credit today. Jack Harrison then, I'm going to give him a 6, purely on the basis that I don't want to be too harsh. But again today, what did he offer? No, yeah, I accept and I agree and I completely get it. He works hard, he runs around, he works hard for the team. Defensively, he works hard, he puts himself about, he battles, and in that system and that way of playing, you need players like that who are going to get about the pitch and work out, because you saw on Monday night when you've got somebody like Ashley Young who can't do that, just how negative of an impact that can have. I get it. Maybe I just need to get over it. Maybe I just need to get over this thing that I struggle with the output from both wingers, but specifically from Jack Harrison, because I think he's got it. I think he's talented. I think he's got the ability. I think he's got the capability of putting good crosses into the box, making the right decisions, getting on the end of things. But I just don't think he uses it enough. I think he rushes his decision making. I don't think he uses his brain an awful lot. He had the chance today with a couple of minutes to go, 1-1. We're all thinking, oh my God, we're through this, 2 points dropped. And he has a perfect chance. The ball falls to him. The Brighton defenders are completely sleeping. Everybody around him is completely sleeping. The ball falls to him and he he's just wasteful with it again. His shots, and I know it's not the easiest chance in the world, granted, but his shots just like a wayward, I'll just hit this and open. It's not good enough. But he worked hard, he ran round, he was alright. Decore then, I'm going to give him a 6 as well. I don't think he was hugely involved in the game. He obviously had that chance, which was unlucky. He probably should have done a little bit better with that opportunity. He couldn't have done much better with that opportunity. It was a great effort and it was cleared off the line. I was thinking of Beto's chance then. He couldn't have done much better with that. It was a great contact. It was a brilliant ball in by McNeil, and unfortunately Tariq Lamptey was in the right place at the right time. I just don't think he was as involved today. I just don't think he was as involved. Decore wasn't really creating much for us. Granted, I get it, we didn't have a lot of the ball. We were very much on the defensive for large parts of the game, and it was different to last season. Last season, we had a lot of counter-attacks, and I think I said this at the time, it was one of the only times I've ever seen Everton play where every time we went forward, we scored a goal or we created a big opportunity. One of the only times in my life I've seen Everton that clinical was on that day. That wasn't the case today. A lot of our chances come from loop balls in, corners, set pieces, big long balls. We didn't have many chances on the counter-attack to do much. I thought Dukes was okay. I don't think he was terrible, but I just don't think he was hugely involved. And then Dom, I'm going to give Dom a 6. I'll give Dukes a 6.5. I'm going to give Dom a 6. I thought he worked hard. Difficult for him again. Very, very difficult for him. Don't think he had many chances today to score. He had one just before half-time, which was blown for offside, but wasn't offside. But the defender got the right side of him. He obviously had a header in the first half as well, where I think Lewis Dunk got the right side of him and got a contact on it. But he's A, not creating for himself, and he's B, not really having much created for him, and that means that he effectively is just the fella that we lump the ball up to, and he tries to battle off 2 defenders. Works hard, puts himself about, but not any output really from him. Onto the bench then, Onana. I'm going to give him a 6.5. Thought he'd come on, ran round, worked hard, put himself about, battled, fought. I just think we're a much better team with them on the pitch. I do, and I know people won't agree with that and people won't like that, but I just think we're a much better team with them on the pitch. Beto, I'm going to give Beto a 6.25 because I thought he come on and I thought we were better when he come on. I thought he put himself about. I thought he created problems for the Brighton defence. I thought he used his physicality and his strength and his size and all of that to his advantage. But as always with Beto, he gets opportunities, and he got one today where he done really, really well, and then he gets one-on-one with the goalkeeper and he doesn't even get it anywhere near on target. And I'm not saying he should have scored it. It was a difficult opportunity. It wasn't the easiest chance in the world, granted, but to not even test the goalkeeper or get a corner out of it, or even continue driving forward to try and get some contact and potentially win a penalty, not that we would have, but yeah, not great output. And then Ashley Young, give him a 6. I can't remember him even touching the ball, if I'm being honest with you. One thing I will say is, finally, Everton had a player sent off against them for the first time in about 4 years today. And it was a blatant sending off, and VAR didn't try and stand in the way. And it would have been much nicer for us to be able to celebrate that, a lot more tonight if we'd have won the game than we will. Because, like I said, would you take a point before? Probably. A Brighton, a good team at home. Yeah, they've only lost once since August or since September, whatever it is, in the Premier League. But when you've not won since December and you're 5 minutes away from winning, I just can't be anything other than disappointed with that, I'll be honest. Anyway, there you go. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, check out the instant match reaction, it is up on the channel now. That would mean a huge amount to me. Big thank you all for watching, and we'll see you after.